I mean, we're now recording. This is our latest distributed learning seminar. This one is a different look at teaching / learning, valve timings, and I'm kicking it right to Tim Dwyer to start us off.
Okay, I'm gonna share it because it'll be more sensational when I do that. I guess maybe not. I don't want to share. Hang on. Okay, I want to honor the chat feature, and so I've been going back through and kind of reading during this webinar. It's pretty hard to stay up with some of that stuff, so I'll go back through and kind of digest it all. And I want to just make recognition of some ideas that have come up. I thought it'd be probably a good idea to every day to start off with just a 2 or 3 minute, 5 minute maybe wrap up of the comments and acknowledge some of the input. So number one, I don't know if you can read that or not. Marshall had made a mention that he's been doing some interactive discussions while I guess his students are on internship, and he was willing to share some of that in the future if that's something that we're interested in. So I would suggest when I bring up someone who's offered to share something, you might want to reach around and contact us and let us talk about it and talk about time limits and maybe kind of preview what you've got going and all that. So there's one for Marshall right there. Let me. This is more of a comment. Franco made a point that there's some glare on there. That he was pulling up Shopkey and having his students pull up wiring diagrams for different components and working through those and coming back and discussing them. I think that's a good way to occupy them, or online way. Lots of discussion that would come out of that. Joe Heyer said he had a brake demo that he would be interested in presenting, and that's something, like I said, I would encourage you to reach out to us if you would like to talk more about that.
Franco has the best automotive teacher name of all time, Franco Ferrari. So
cool. I think the common consensus was don't recommend letting your students work on their own cars at home to try and do some type of a lab. I just don't think that'd be a good idea. I mean, I think there's the potential risk is huge, and I don't know if we need to be getting in that much of a hurry and putting students in a different risk than the coronavirus. So, and this isn't me telling you what to do. I'm just saying the consensus on the chat was probably not a good idea.
I don't see how you could do anything that would be mandated on a student vehicle anyway. I don't think you could ever force them.
Right. Number 5, there was a comment, and I wasn't aware of it yesterday. I went back and looked it up. Skills USA has, I guess I was reminded of this. They have their Career Essentials suite. You might want to look at that. They've got some free stuff that they're trying to, that they've put together in addition to this to help instructors during this time. And it's really for maybe all career and technical education instructors. But they've got some automotive stuff specifically too. Okay. And I think, I can't remember if you guys can get back into our chat and go back up, because there's a link to it. If not, then we'll put it up, make sure Jimmy gets it up on our website perhaps. And then the old dead horse that we're not going to beat anymore is apparently there is some thought on ConstLab training. I think what we probably want to do from here out is maybe pick one day out of the 3, and I'll remind you that we decided we're probably going to meet from now on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays at the same hour. But what we might want to do is pick a day and actually have it on a product, and that way if you show up, you're interested in it. If there's something you're not interested in, then we won't see you that day. But I think this is a great opportunity to help people that have bought our stuff get a tutorial and maybe get some lesson ideas on how to employ these when you and I'll say hit the ground running, because when we get back to class, you're going to be hitting the ground running. So we will let you know on the schedule of equipment for that as soon as we kind of get our decision and find out. We've got stuff scattered all over. We've got some that we're hoarding at our house, and then Kevin has offered to go down to the mothership and be our hands if needed too. So we will more on that, I guess. More to come. Stay tuned. But wait, there's more. So that's pretty much it for the chat.
I had one.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot about you, Jeff.
Unblur your screen.
You're blurred.
Yes, I am blurred. So, too many blue shirts, and too many of us talking was one of the comments, and we hear you, and we're working on that to bring other people and get other people involved because there are a lot of great ideas. So we hear you. So thanks for bringing that stuff up. I'm done. Off to Rick.
So you're saying turn this off? No.
After Rick. Rick fell asleep. Sorry. What's
Yeah.
going on?
Wake up. So today we're just trying to take a different look at how to do something. So there's a couple of things I'm going to share. I'm going to be switching screens back and forth, trying to show you different things and different way to look at something. A quick tutorial, because we've got some new people that are showing up all the time. On your screen, and actually I think that's what I'm going to do quickly first, is share my screen. So if we go here, this, oops, that's not working out. There. So now you should be able to see my arrow and the little buttons across here. So there's your,
That's not what I'm seeing.
what are you seeing?
The Brady Bunch here, like
We
4
just
heads.
see your screen of us.
Oh, you can't see my button bar.
Me, I
That's
see
right. We
Jeff,
figured that
I
out.
see Tim.
Yeah.
Too many blue shirts.
Anyway, just a quick thing. The buttons, whenever you move your mouse or whatever onto your screen, you'll see a camera, a microphone, there's the screen share, and then there's the chat bubble. It looks like a little cartoon bubble. That's where you can go and put things in the chat. This one is going to be a bit of a question and answer session. So we're going to open this up. Start there. So share this. So I think we're all familiar with this chart. Hopefully you're seeing a typical valve timing chart with the colors and the overlap.
Yep.
And today we want to have another look at the way we might go through this and something that the students can participate in. This actually came from way back when I was a student, and something we were tasked with to build as students was to create a device that we could use as a tool. And so I had to go out in the garage and dig through some boxes and stuff and came up with the one that I actually built. I don't want to say how many years ago, but quite a long time ago. So, and it's even deteriorated to the point of, yeah, it's just not working that well anymore. So the way that we want to do this interactively is we're going to share from another source.
And while Rick's doing that, we want to be sure to understand and look at the background of what he's doing. We're just doing this with the stuff we have in our hands.
So, is it actually broadcasting now? Oh, yes.
It's threatening to.
Yeah. So we got to do this.
Yay.
There we go. So what we put in the other picture was this chart, and I've put some letters on here and some numbers, and we're going to try and break this down and get some responses. So I'm going to ask the guys to kind of lead me through the responses. But what do the letters actually stand for on here? Anything in the chat?
They didn't know there was going to be homework.
Ah,
So Joe says intake, compression, power, and exhaust. Greg
Yes.
says same thing.
okay. And we've kind of divided this up so that there's 4 quadrants in this, and we added a couple little bumps in here as well that are on the screen under the I and the E. What do you think those bumps might be? If we were to go here and here.
Josh says cam lobes. Don
Yeah.
says cam lobes.
Okay.
Marshall says cam lobes. Everyone says cam lobes.
Everyone says cam lobes. So the other thing that we've got around the outside are some numbers, but let's just concentrate on the top one for a minute with the 1. So imagine this is a 1-cylinder engine. What position is this engine in right now?
And there's that awkward silence we were waiting on.
Mhm.
Greg and Marshall, again, overlap.
Okay.
TDC, valve overlap, TDC.
All right. And so if we were to start our 4-stroke cycle, oops, I didn't want the whole thing to turn. We can actually watch this actually go through. So what's changed there? What's our cylinder trying to do now?
Seeing spark, power stroke, spark, fire.
Okay.
Valves
about to-
closed.
We're about
Sorry.
to start the power stroke, right? I rotated my inner circle 180 degrees, but how far has the crankshaft moved?
.360. 2 to
Yeah.
1. 180, 360.
Yeah. So the crankshaft has gone 360 because of that 2 to 1 ratio.
Mhm.
So every 90 degrees on this represents 180 degrees of crankshaft. Okay. Now, what we can do with that is we can figure out what's going on with other cylinders at the same time. So if I back out and look at the 1, 3, 4, 2 that we've got here, those represent the other cylinders. And I know we're only showing 1 pair of cam lobes, but don't the cam lobes do the same in every cylinder?
Good day.
That's
Joe's-
waiting for a response.
Wait for Joe's last comment. Yeah, what he said.
Yeah.
Yes, at different times. 4 is on overlap, and then there's crickets.
Yeah. So if we look at this, we've got number 1's about to begin the power stroke. 4's on overlap. 3 is just finishing the intake, about to come up on compression. 2 is just ending its power stroke and coming up on exhaust. Now, one of the things we used to use this chart for was to do valve adjustments, whatever the heck that is these days. Not a common thing to be done, but there are other things we can get out of this. For example, if we're about to start the power stroke on number 1, what has to occur right about here?
Injector fire and ignition.
So if I put a line there, so you want to fire the injector then?
Two ignitions and 1 injector, 3 ignitions.
Well,
Okay.
you got one guy's a diesel guy.
Oh
right?
yeah, one guy's a diesel guy. Doesn't even know what a spark plug is.
Ah.
Good job, Marshall.
So yeah, if it's a diesel, you're going to be doing your injection. If it's a spark, you're going to be doing your ignition.
Yep.
Okay. So neither one is wrong. All right. So we can go around and figure that out as well. If I go down here, which again, 4 is just finishing the exhaust and about to start intake. If this was a gasoline injection engine, what would I want to do?
What would you want to do? Where now?
At this point right here on
Okay.
cylinder number 4, it's about to start intake. So if this was a gasoline engine, what other event would I want to occur right there?
I think we're stumping the band here.
Remember, a cam sensor typically does 2 signals for us. It'll signal for ignition, as we said. But on the running mate of number 1, it's about to start intake stroke. What might I do here?
Yeah, intake valve starts to open.
Yeah. Is there anything that the engine management system might do?
Fuel.
Hmm?
Fuel.
Fuel. I might actually inject fuel there as the valve begins to open.
Yeah, the question was GDI.
Okay. And that was something we're going to get to after is GDI. Is it going to be there?
Hey, Greg, click to the side screen and just hard click and it'll make that box go away. They were trying to get the control box out of the way of your pencil.
Okay. No, I see. I'm not seeing that.
Yeah. I
So
blew your mojo
we're
there,
going to
so.
have our fuel injection there as well too. If it was a GDI engine, you know, it's going to be somewhere in here, right?
Okay, I'm going to jump in for a second here because I've experienced the same thing. So if you're typing in the chat window, your dialog box on the screen will not go away. Once you're done typing in the chat window, click your cursor back onto the image, and then the box will go away again. So it's not ideal, but then again, what is? So
Yeah.
it's a workaround.
Okay.
Now I forgot
Okay,
your
go ahead,
question,
Rick.
Rick. I forgot your question, Rick.
Okay, so we said, you know, typically if this is a port fuel injection engine, or even if it was a throttle body, or, you know, again going back further in time, injection would probably happen before the intake stroke began because the valve is beginning to open, right? And we want the fuel ready to go into the cylinder. Someone said, what if it's a GDI? Well, when do we inject fuel on a GDI?
GDI fuel will be delivered before compression. Oh, question mark?
Yeah, that's a question, but
Depends on RPM.
yeah.
Says it has to be delivered before compression.
Yeah.
Late compression, says John.
Really, and it depends on what the engine design is and what strategy it's using. We know that it has to occur before ignition, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. So there are lots of things that we can discover with this, just spending a little bit of time and getting the students to get a little bit more involved. Now, let's think about engine diagnosis for a minute. And this is more of a mechanical diagnosis. If I was to, let's say, switch this here, and it doesn't really matter which cylinder I point this at, if I was doing a leak down test on this engine, which cylinder is in the right position to put the tester on?
If you were doing a leak down test, you
Yeah,
said
cylinder leakage test.
three is coming up as a hard answer.
Yes, so 3 would be the right one. If I heard some noise or air escaping from, let's say, cylinder number 1, while I'm doing my leakage test, what might be the problem in cylinder 3?
Where are we hearing the noise?
Let's say it's coming out of the spark plug hole.
Okay. Richard says head gasket, head gasket, head gasket, head gasket.
So between 3 and 1, we're going to hear head gasket.
Pretty long tear. 1 and 3 don't connect. Oh no! Crack if it's Siamese. What they're talking about the ports.
Yeah, but that'd be difficult between 1 and 3, Siamese to crack.
Yeah.
What else is the common denominator?
What's going on in cylinder number 1 right now?
Valve open on 1. Which valve? Exhaust.
Okay, so if exhaust valve is just opening on 1 and we hear some air coming out of 1, what could be going on in 3?
I don't know. Head gasket if air on 2 through number 1 spark plug. I'm not sure that's what we're asking though.
Mm-hmm. So rather than digging anymore, I'm going to say, what if the exhaust valve on 3 was leaking?
So 3's on, got a tight load in there because it's compressed.
Yeah,
And if
but
it
the
had
air
a,
is escaping.
right, and you're hearing it in the exhaust on the opposite side. So we're hearing the seat and valve.
Yeah, possibly the manifold is funneling the air not only to 1, but maybe to 2 as well. Okay. Again, will depend on the amount of lift, those types of things, but it's just once you get into using this, there's a lot of different things you can go through and talk about. And rather than to keep going on this in just respect of time, I've got a couple more things that I want to share. So I'm going to go.
So this would be a good conversation starter online or, virtually for sure.
Looking at what we just did, here's a picture of a GDI cylinder head. Cylinder number 1 is up front towards the left of the screen. Currently in here, we've got intake valves slightly open on 1, intake valves slightly open on 2, exhaust valves slightly open on 3, and 4 has all the valves closed. So just by looking at the valves, could we determine where the crankshaft position was? If it was still attached.
Joe
That would
says
make,
that
yeah.
would make the students really think, yeah.
Yeah. 1 going down from TDC. So you've got intake open on 1, right?
Yep. Intakes open on 1, 2, and exhaust on 3.
TDC
Power.
number 1, 4 on power.
Yep, 4 on power. There you go, Greg.
Okay.
So it's going down. So number one's going down. The intake's open.
Yeah. So would this chart kind of represent what was going on?
Doesn't kind of, it does.
Just your 5-minute notice. That's what I like.
Yep.
So, and I've seen two comments so far about direction of rotation. One said, shouldn't it be going counterclockwise? But I guess it depends on what end of the engine you're looking at. But
No.
Yep. Go ahead.
Well, in the case of this engine, the camshaft has to turn clockwise to get to each of the cylinders. So, and really that's what this thing represents, is the mechanical brain of the engine, which is the camshaft. And we want to rotate it clockwise. Now, I realize this is something that we probably all teach. And I'm not saying that this is a better method, but it's just another way of looking at something to create discussion and kind of challenge the things that we think we know. And I didn't steal it from anybody, but in my looking around today, I found this for a Triumph motorcycle.
yay. So just looking at the chat, I mean, if this was an online class with your students, say they're engaged.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good point, Tim, that what we're trying to do, accomplish here is not be a one-way street, not just talking. We want the student to be engaged as we've engaged you here, so that we can have, as best we can, a two-way conversation. And that's where we hope to drive these in the future.
Again, as we said yesterday, we're coming up with these each morning of what we're going to do. It's another way. I mean, you can see beside John, possibly he's got the cylinder head there that I have the pictures that I took off of our website. We could go and position that in almost any position, but again, you could develop exercises around diagnosis, around what's occurring at different events. It's just another little tool that might make the students work a bit.
So, coming up in the next coming weeks, we're going to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, as Tim mentioned up at the beginning. We want to see your hands involved in this. If you want to demonstrate something, you can time box it into 20 minutes, as Rick has done here so well, and a little thing. And would teach that little well and show the students how we can use our hands within it. I would guess in sometime within the next week or so, we're probably going to see an air conditioning demonstration where we're using somebody's hands in Quebec City on an air conditioning trainer and being directed by one of us and probably Mr. Krieger, who has such a great depth of knowledge in the air conditioning. Anything you guys want to add before we're out of our 30 minutes?
Same as always, we'll be here for the post game, the wrap-up show.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording. This will be up on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and on our resources tab on our website later today. Obviously, stay around and chat and share whatever you want, but I am going to stop recording now.
Okay, so we've got